south?
No, not real south, Maryland south.
Hey, Maryland's south enough for me. It'll be lovely.
No snow ever though.
That's why it's the right place for me. I always said right around Maryland or Delaware would be perfect.
Delaware is just completely flat.
Oh, they're both lovely places.
It's all fields.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. Kind of interesting the way that geography changes down there. We've got enough hills up here.
Mhm.
It's true.
Wow. Hopefully, it'll be as lovely in Maryland as it is up here.
I suspect it will be, but it's beautiful today.
Mm-hmm.
Roger.
Liz, I didn't hear from anybody other than Roger saying that they'd be here. So unless you
Okay.
heard from somebody.
I only heard from Roger also. So we have Mark, Pat, myself, and Roger. That makes
And
it
Pat's
four.
here, so.
Yeah.
Roger's not here yet, is he?
Right. I'm looking at the boxes. Excuse me, it's been a long day. You said Roger, so I thought I saw a box that said Roger.
No, just that he
maybe
was
I'll
going to.
nudge him and figure out where he's at. I'm going to mute myself for a second.
Who's first, Jane?
Well, it's public hearing. And so that's 125 Lake. So that's Susan and her clients, which haven't logged in yet.
Oh, okay.
But
Yes, I have. That's me.
Oh,
there
okay.
you are.
Hi.
Okay.
Scott.
Hello. Hi.
You had disappeared for a minute, so I didn't see you on my screen.
My window blind isn't coming down, so I kind of look like I've got heaven over my shoulder. So
That's
I'm trying
I
to
chose not to turn mine on just because there's so many people that I was hoping that I could kind of hide, but
Okay, so Roger said he's on his way. So we have plenty of people to start the meeting even without him, because both Jesse and Patton are here, as well as Mark and I. But we will wait till Roger logs on, and then we'll open the meeting, because I have not heard from either Dave or Brian.
and Liz, just to let you know, nobody sent in any public comments for the public hearing.
Thank you.
So then nobody requested to talk either, so you can probably open it and close it at the same time.
It should make everybody very happy, right?
But you've already approved the addition, so
Yep.
the only thing it's holding up on is the demo.
Yes, I realized we should have approved it contingent upon demolition.
Well, I think it is written in that way.
Yeah.
I assume that.
I'm glad you assumed it, Susan.
I still have it sitting in the file. I never mailed it out because I figured they couldn't do anything with it without getting rid of the other building. So,
Actually, I got a copy of it. You did mail it out.
oh, I did, huh? Okay.
We're so efficient. Right.
And it does not say contingent on it.
I'd meant to hang on to it till this month.
Okay. I've got
But there's
cat.
Roger.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so we do have a solid quorum of the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board of the Village of Cooperstown present. So we will call the meeting to order. Michael, it's 5:05. And we're going to open the public hearing
Sorry.
regarding, okay, thank you for joining us. We're going to open the public hearing regarding the proposed demolition of the existing garage at 125 Lake Street. Jane, our zoning enforcement officer, has not received any communications regarding the public hearing. And to our knowledge, there's nobody on this call who is representing any interests in the public hearing. Am I wrong? Does anybody have anything to say regarding 125 Lake Street and the proposed demolition of the garage?
I'm here, and also the applicant is here, but we're certainly supportive.
Okay, all right. We'll have a quick conversation among members of the Historic Preservation Board. Do any board members have anything to say regarding the demolition of this garage?
Just as David had said before, in his experience, it was not very useful because there was none of the openings for cars were the dimensions were not favorable to modern cars, I guess.
Yeah. So.
So Susan Snell is agreeing with me. So that
Yeah,
Well, anybody else? Jesse, do you have any comments?
I think it's fine.
Mark?
No, I'm good proceeding.
Hey, Pat?
No, I like it.
Okay. Well, since it's unlikely we're going to be joined by anybody else, we can go through this pretty quickly. I would normally leave the hearing open a little bit longer, but unless there's anybody on the board who disagrees, we'll close the hearing and move on to the regular agenda where we can vote on this.
right. I
Okay.
agree.
Okay, moving on to the regular agenda, 125 Lake Street. Does anybody want to make a motion regarding the proposed demolition of the existing garage as submitted?
Yes, I will. Do we have to make a formal motion, whereas the public hearing was held
Yes.
with no public comments? Seeker was not invoked. Therefore, section 300-26, in terms of,
You don't usually do 326 for demos, I know.
I'd just like to make a motion that we agree that this structure should be demolished.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, Liz votes yay.
Roger, yes.
Pat, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, chime in today.
Oh, right, yes.
You get to talk too.
Well, I always talk, it's just a question of whether I get to vote.
You get to vote too. You get the privilege of joining us today. Okay, thank you. So it's approved unanimously, and we have already approved the structure that
Yes.
is replacing it. So Susan or Scott, did either of you have anything to say before we move on the agenda since you've joined us?
No, thank you.
no, I'm happy, thank
You're
you.
good.
You're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you very
Very
much for
good.
joining us tonight.
Thanks very much.
We will move on to the second item on the regular agenda, 7 Lakeview Drive South. Is somebody representing the Franks with us?
Yeah,
Yes, it's
Josh
Josh.
from Custom and Solar.
Oh, great, Josh. Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't connecting the screen names and the names on the
Oh, that's okay.
agenda. So, okay, would you like to tell us about the project, Josh?
Yeah, so let me see. I just got to move this over a little bit. I'm working off one laptop screen, unfortunately, right now.
I understand.
So it's on the rear roof for the panels that we're putting on for the solar. Of course, my computer does not want to move here.
Do you want me to bring up the application? Liz?
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, because
Josh-
my laptop for some reason isn't sharing correctly. Could you share it real quick, please? Sorry.
Yes, she's got it all set. Thanks, Jane.
Just have to pick the right one. Where'd my address go? Hold on. We'll get
I
to
know
the
it's
picture.
21 solar panels on the rear roof, so nobody's going to be able to see it from the road. They are non-metallic, so no glares coming off them at all. We're doing the portrait landscape, or basically a portrait style on the back, all flush mount. It's all metal racking underneath. They are LG panels, if I believe I'm correct. Yeah, so they're 365 LG panels. So they are definitely all black. There's nothing on metal siding that can reflect sun or anything like that. And that was basically the best side of the house with the way the sun hits their yard. So for them to get most production, that's kind of why we landed on that rear roof. And it's better from the road view. You can't see it the way it's sloped down in the back. So that's kind of what our design engineers and our salesmen came up with.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions for Josh?
I don't.
None here.
And Jesse, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
Pat?
No, no, I'm good.
Okay, and I'll just ask this for point of the grandmother test. If any other future homeowner or whatever, these are reversible, not that you'd want to reverse them, but they can be removed, correct?
Yep, they can be removed, and all the punctures from the roof can be sealed correctly, and there would be no leaks. So yes,
Okay.
fully removable
Yeah.
system.
And that's kind of something we weigh as a committee. If if you're adding this material, you can take it away. So great. Well, if there are no other questions, does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Mark.
There's the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding the installation of solar panels at 7 Lakeview Drive South. Requirements of secret have been met, structure is not listed. The proposed work meets the criteria under section 326E. 2B, 3C, and 5. Now therefore be it resolved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. Any discussion? Okay. Liz votes yay.
Pat votes yes.
Roger, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Thank you. Fantastic. That was unanimous. And Josh, thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Okay. All right. 52 Chestnut. Hi, Terry. How are you? You're muted.
You're muted.
I'm not muted any longer. Good
Oh,
evening.
good. Thank you.
Tell us about what you'd like to do, Terry.
So we've got the fence up on the north side, and with Suzanne Rudy and I have come to an agreement on where the fence would go on the south side, but we would like to request a field change to include a 4-foot fence, not a 6-foot fence between us and the Rudys, starting at the back of our house, the main house, going to about 10 feet from the creek.
And the same fence. as
The
the
exact
other.
same fence, the
It's just-
shadow box made of wood. Tom Howard Construction is making it on site.
And it's 4 feet.
4 feet.
Thank you.
Isn't 4 feet within the allowance and that you don't even need a permit for that?
You
I-
still need approval from HBAR. You just don't need neighbor approval.
Oh, okay.
But I do have neighbor
Thank you.
approval as well.
Sounds like it, yes.
Okay, great.
Good.
Pat, you're good?
I'm good.
Mark, you're good?
Yep.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the request for a field change?
Yes, I'd make the motion that the at 52 Chestnut Street, the field change, the construction of a 4-foot fence along the south property line.
Thank you. We need a second for that.
Mark seconds.
Fantastic. Okay. Liz votes yay.
Pat votes yay.
Roger, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Terry. Have a good night.
Thank you all again. Have a good evening. Good night.
You're welcome. Okay. So Karen and Randy, I see you've joined us. Would you like to tell us about your project? That's 15 Pine Boulevard, Michael, number 4 on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Hi, so this is a fence at 15 Pine, which is next door to us, the property that we own. So we are going to be putting in a 6-foot tall fence by 8 foot. It's going to be new, but it's replacing what was already there. And then there is a propane tank in the back of the house that will be 4 foot tall on 3 sides only, so that there's access in the back for emergency purposes. And then there will be a 6-foot tall fence by approximately 48 feet long from the corner of the propane tank going toward Pine Boulevard, just as a privacy to conceal the back of the hotel and the back of the empty lot, just to give the people that live at 15 Pine a little privacy.
Any questions for Karen?
Jane, can you pull up the application
Sure.
and show where these fences are going to be?
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Well, would you do that?
So where my cursor is right now was one of the 6-foot tall panels that's only 8 feet wide. Then back here was where the propane tank was. So there's the 4-foot high panels that are wrapping on 3 sides. And then roughly in this area is the 48-foot long that's basically designed to follow the grade. So it's angled somewhat, just to correct, Karen, as far as just
You said it perfectly, thank you.
right. But it's outside of the setback requirements, so it did not need approval from the adjacent neighbor down here. None of, and this one is outside the setback. So
So
neighbor
this
approval
one-
was,
Go ahead.
go on. I was just gonna say neighbor approval was not required for this fence anywhere.
So the drawing is not to scale. That's the thing I stumbled over before.
Yeah,
It's a lot longer than what's shown in the picture.
it's 48 feet long total.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I was trying to figure out how
right.
that worked.
So it's this
That's a big
style, but it's either 6 foot or 4 foot, depending on which location it was at.
That's correct.
Right. Very hard to put it on paper because the property is on a hill right there. Got a big drop off.
And just to confirm, you've given us a photograph of a wood fence. I will confirm
Yes.
that the materials are wood.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
It should be 15 Pine and not 13 Pine.
Right.
I hadn't even noticed it on the order. That's your address though, so that's fine.
But the application reads correctly, so that's
Okay.
fine. We can
Okay.
do that.
Thanks.
And the image, now there are two different images. The image in the estimate is a little bit different than the image in the picture.
Yes,
it's-
when he presented it to me, he said, what about this one? And I don't, it's got too much going on. I don't want the lattice. Basically, it's gonna end up looking like the fence at the Bank of Cooperstown.
But more closely to this.
More
image.
closely to that.
Will it have the copper finials too?
No, it won't.
Or caps, I should say?
Yeah, my goal is to have it mimic the board and batten house
Mm-hmm.
and then paint it the same color as the house so that it just all kinds of blends in,
Great.
which is going to be dark green.
Yeah, the house is looking really good.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, would anybody like to vote?
Gilly says hi too.
Oh,
Anybody like to make a motion?
Sure, I can make a
Thanks,
motion.
Mark.
Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding the installation of fencing at 15 Pine Boulevard. The work meets the criteria under 326E. Let's see, 2C, 3C. And I think that's it. Whereas now therefore be it resolved.
Can I
Okay.
clarify something?
Mhm.
Yep.
Not required. Secret net is listed?
Yes,
Not listed.
not listed.
It's
Okay.
not listed. Okay.
Thank you for catching
I think
it.
that was the one I had the question about. It in any documentation I could find, it didn't specify that it was non-contributing, but because of the age, I assumed it was. And I actually wanted to ask Jesse about that one.
Which, the house? On
Yeah,
Pine Boul- The 13 Pine?
15.
15 Pine,
15.
Which one
the
is?
ranch.
Barber House?
Um,
Is that
Yeah,
one?
that's a good question. I can pull out the nomination and look. It may also, when the nomination was written, the decision, and at the time, I don't know if we could still do this today, but at the time, we said as properties achieved their 50th anniversary, they would be considered, they could be considered for being contributing. And so that house is now more than 50 years old. So it's probably contributing at this point. But I don't know how that meshes with the the village ordinance, which is probably worded a bit differently. Let me pull out the nomination.
Thanks, Jesse. Do we want to we'll let her pull that out so we don't get sidetracked.
Yeah, like I said, basically, I had come up with documentation that listed individual properties as either non-contributing or contributing in some of the documentation that wasn't necessarily showing up on the one online. And
Yeah.
for 15 Pine, it didn't say non-contributing, but because of the age, I just kind of wasn't sure. It should have been based on all the other ones.
15, if it, in the original documentation for the nomination, if there is nothing after it that says NC, it is considered contributing. 15 Pine was built in 1958. The architect was Formica and the builder was Ward Rathbun, and it is considered a contributing property in the district.
Great, thank you very much.
Right. And that's why I was told that basically it had to be 50 years old when the nomination was created, and that time was not 50. So that's why I had the question mark on the
Yeah,
agenda.
It was approaching 50, but because of its integrity and the
Traceable history.
yeah, that we were able to really nail it down pretty well. That was that's probably what contributed. I mean, we are talking really old history here for me.
Okay, no, that's fine. Like
I
said,
sent this nomination off to SHPO in June of 1998. So I popped it in the mail, jumped in the lake, and then drove to the airport and got on a plane to London for Victorian Society summer school. All within about 2 hours.
That was intense.
But at least it was gone, not
Yeah.
in your hands anymore. Well, thank you for double checking on that and explaining that, Jesse. So given that, we can return to the nomination. It is contributing. Thank you for asking, Michael, to the motion. Mark was done making the motion. Did we have a second?
Roger, second.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor? Liz votes yay.
Roger, yes.
Pat, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Great. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Karen and Randy.
Yep.
And we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda.
Thank you.
Delaware
Thank
is
you.
great.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Barbara Duffy, thank you for joining us, Barbara.
Yep, there
Would
I
you like
am.
Tell us about your project.
Well, since the death of my cousin, I inherited 2 German Shepherds. One's 3 years old and one's almost 11. And so I thought the best thing to do would be to give them part of my yard, not the whole thing. So I'm trying to enclose the part of the yard from the house to the garage. And in order to do that, I already have lattice fencing on the sides, but I need to put a higher fence up, 6 foot 6 inches, a privacy fence so they can't see through. And that'll be on the south side, which is towards Walnut, and the north side towards South Avenue. And then inside the area, I want a fence, 4 foot fence to match my existing fence on the rest of the property from the side to connect to the front of the garage on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Got it.
Did everybody understand that? Does anybody need Jane to pull the drawing up?
Yeah, pull it up, Jane.
Yeah, it's kind
Oh, Michael, you're such a troublemaker.
No, I'd like to see
No.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I gotta pull up, they're all on one document, so.
Okay. This is not to scale because the property is 50 feet wide and 160 something deep. And in order to get it to scale, I would have had to use 2 pieces of paper, which I did. But anyway, I
So
don't
this
know.
is-
Can
This
I?
is the 6 foot, the privacy fences are here and
All
here.
right, here's the existing fence where the trellis is. This is the back of the original house before the addition. So it'll go from the trellis this far back, which is 45 feet on that side. And that'll be 6 foot 6 inches. It's pressure treated panels, but the top part has 1.5 feet of lattice. Like the picture the other lady didn't like, I liked because I'm trying to make it sort of consistent with the existing fence, which is all lattice. Yeah, that's the idea that I want to put up. Now, I think I gave you a picture of my existing fence.
We do have that in the file. Yes.
And the problem, yeah. So the problem with the existing one is the dogs can see through and they pay attention to everything that happens. So, but I'm going to, so the outside, the border pieces will be 6'6" and then have some lattice on the top. And then the interior fences from the border to the garage. Now this goes behind the door of the garage, so I can still get in the garage. And that will be the same as what's around the rest of the property, 4 foot 4 inches with all lattice. And then on this side, it goes 11 feet to the side, same thing. And both of them have gates. I may have to make this 4 foot gate a little wider because I'm not sure that it'll be wide enough for anybody that needs, any workman that needed to go get to the back section, because there's still almost 60 feet of land in the back. It's a very, very deep piece of property.
Yeah.
So this part will look like this looks, and they can see through it, but there's not as much to see through, just look at, as there is on the sides. What else can I tell
Anybody
you?
have any questions for Barbara? Let's see if anybody has any questions for you.
Oh, she need permission from the neighbors?
There
Yeah,
is a
she
letter
has
in the
it.
file, yep.
And they were both thrilled.
Good.
That's a lot of dog.
Yeah,
It is. They're beautiful, but they
They
like
are a
to pay
handful.
yes,
I was
and
gonna
they
make-
like to pay attention to what's going on, especially on the southern side where Orion rents. The driveway is right there, so everybody that comes in the driveway gets a bit of a roof.
welcoming.
Yeah.
2 German Shepherds.
Well, the one that's going to be 11 years old, I don't expect to live very long. She's got a problem with her spleen. Last year, they told me she probably had weeks. Well, she's surviving quite well and enjoying the backyard. But she's not going to live to be very much older. So then I'll be down to 1. The younger one is just 3.
Oh,
And my 2 cats inside. Very exciting at my house.
Sounds like a handful.
Kind of a rodeo, I think, most of the time.
Mark, do you have any questions?
Nothing here.
Pat, do you have any questions?
No, all looks very good to me.
Jesse?
No, I think it's fine. I was a little confused by the application. I was thinking 6 feet in the front, but I think what you're doing, it makes sense. I don't have any problem with it.
And I didn't want to do 6 feet all around because the property is so narrow. It would
You'd
look
feel like you were living in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if I'm not claustrophobic now, I would be.
Right, exactly.
You're a good foster parent to those dogs.
Well, they're really good dogs. I take them to training classes and they go to competitions. The younger one just got a rally title this summer. So
Wow.
and she goes out to agility classes. She's not ready for the big time yet. She's a little, but she's getting there.
That's cool. Yeah. Use
Yeah.
up some of her energy.
Well, the younger one has lots of energy. They both have energy, and so it's good for me. Good exercise, keeps me walking, running.
Okay, nobody else has any questions. If somebody would like to make a motion, I'll remind Brian and Mark that Jesse and Pat are both alternates, so may not have their cheat sheets. And Jesse, I know we promised to get you a book, and I just found my note about that right before the meeting, so we'll make sure you have it for the next meeting.
Okay, I'll do it. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architects Review Board has made the following findings of facts concerning the proposed application of 41 Delaware Street. The Public hearing was not necessary, nor were the requirements of seeker may have been met, but therefore, section 300-26E to C 3, how about 3A and B and C?
And is it
Therefore,
listed
be
or
resolved-
isn't it listed?
No,
Pardon me?
Not listed?
No, it's not listed.
Not listed, no. Therefore, be it resolved, et cetera, and so forth.
Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
Pat, yes.
Roger, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Okay. So Michael, I think you heard when Roger and Pat said yes at the same time, right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
got
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, great. Barbara, thank you very much. Good luck with the dogs.
Thank you very much. And
Better
thank
you than me.
Yeah, right. Well, and thank you. We'll get working on the fence. My neighbors will be thrilled.
Bye-bye. Good night. Take
Bye.
care. Everybody on Delaware Streets wants a fence tonight, Josh. Tell us about your project.
Certainly. I have existing fencing on 2 sides of the property and it's just kind of fallen over. So I'd like to essentially just replace that. And then I want to add a short section back by the side of my garage on the north side. So I don't know if you want to pull the application up, if anyone has any
sure,
questions.
we'll do that.
I didn't see any drawings in the copy of the application I was looking at.
Did I not? There are drawings. I
Okay,
might
I
have
was
missed
wondering,
them for some
I was
reason.
surprised by that.
Should I hold
they
up the
aren't-
file?
They aren't there. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay, you have them.
I
James,
have
is
them
that
in
good?
the packet. They were sent as 2 separate things, so I didn't combine them, obviously. Give me 1 second.
I went down and looked and I'm like, well, yeah, those fences are falling apart. Do they belong to Josh or not?
Hank Nichols, who used to own the house, he and I had that discussion. Neither of us knew whose fence it was, but yeah, it just needs to be replaced. So,
Yeah.
so that's the plan. So
Oh, you've got a cat waving its tail too.
I do. One of my cats is here. She's my office kitty.
Oh, she's pretty.
Calico.
Yeah. And both of yours are really big, aren't they?
They are. They're brother and sister. This is Cleo. Max is. They're both about 20 pounds or so.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
My dogs are only about 14.
Yeah.
Maybe they're cats.
Yeah.
You sure they're cats, Josh?
We're not totally sure.
Jeez. 20-pound cat. Oh my gosh.
Well, sometimes if you walk by and you look in the window as you're walking down Walnut Street at night, you can see one of them lying on top of the refrigerator. And it pretty much covers the entire top of the refrigerator. It's quite remarkable.
They are some large cats. Yep.
Oh.
So
All right.
it looks like, I mean,
So what you're looking at is on the bottom side of the drawing here, the front section, the front 65 feet, there is an existing 2-rail fence that runs along there. I simply want to replace that. And then the back section currently has a 6-foot tall privacy fence. I'd like to replace that with a 7-foot. And then on the back of the property, there's a privacy fence too. And I just like them all to match. So I'm just replacing that one right where it is. The only new fence is at the top there on the north side, where I'm doing a section wrapping along that side of the garage. And I think if you scroll down, I think there are some photos. The fences, that's the existing fencing there.
so
And the proposed fence, the new fence is going to be larch, which is like a cousin of hemlock. It's It's slightly rot resistant, but it's not pressure treated. I am using pressure treated 6x6 for my main posts, just because if they're going to be in the ground, they'll last a lot longer. So that's the back fence I want to replace.
Why do you want to add the extra foot?
Because my property is higher than my neighbor's. And so on my side, I'll have a 6-foot fence and the neighbor's side is 7 foot. So that's the reason for the additional foot. Because right now I kind of see right over top, and the house on the corner, we share a very tight backyard.
Yes, you do.
That way, when we're sitting on the porch, we're not staring at the neighbors eating their dinner at the same time. So.
Okay, any other questions for Josh? And it's as pictured in the images, in A0.1, correct, Josh?
Yes, yes, that is the actual drawing of the fence I plan to construct.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Somebody like to make a motion?
Sure, I can make a
Thank you,
motion.
Mark.
Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding installation of fencing at 45 Delaware Street. No public hearing was required. Requirements of secret have been met. Structure is not listed. Proposed work meets the criteria under 326E, 2C, 3C, 3D. Now therefore be it resolved.
Thank you. Anybody like to second that?
Yes, Roger, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Liz votes yay.
Pat, yes.
Mark, yes.
Roger, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Thank you, Josh. Have a good evening.
You guys too.
Thanks. Okay. On to item number 7 on the regular agenda, 8 Hoffman Lane. Ian will let you in and so you can talk. Great. And no, John isn't joining you tonight, right?
No, just myself.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if I didn't see him on my screen somewhere.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
confirmed.
All right. Would you like to tell us about your project, Ian?
Yeah,
And
this
Jane, maybe?
has been quite a project. So thank you for having me. Definitely learning along the way. We're here tonight to, I guess, ask board approval for constructing a egress stairway off the existing exterior deck, which will run along the side of the building and then come out. The reason for it is that I made a decision a couple weeks ago, hopefully not to regret, but there used to be a spiral staircase on the interior of the building that was sort of, after talking with Tony Gentile, with John, and sort of with some insurance buddies, it really couldn't be used anymore. It was given a variance years ago, but really in today's modern time, a staircase doesn't fit code anymore. So technically, customers couldn't use the stairway. 2, it was going to be dangerous for my staffers to go up the stairway. And so I decided to take that stairway out and make it kitchen space. In doing so, what that does is it changes my occupancy on the second floor and on the deck, which was sort of painful, but it was sort of a win in the kitchen. So in meeting with John and Tony some more, having the egress stairway off the deck puts us back in sort of fire code and occupancy I guess, well-being, safety of our guests on the second floor. We're trying to make it a very open and airy stairway, so it's not all blocked in. So I guess I've come to the board for approval on that stairway. We'd sort of hope to build it when we do that deck or the roof deck project. We do it all at the same time. And the second part to it, though, with the approval of the stairs, is that those two windows right there will need to be covered, not replaced, but covered in a way that if there ever was a fire in the restaurant and people were exiting down those stairs, the glass doesn't blow out on them. It's single pane, older window. So I guess with stairway approval, I'm also asking the board for approval to cover those windows in a decorative manner, either with our logoed sign, or I guess I'm asking some suggestions of the board on how they would like that to possibly look. I'm working with John on either putting fire rated sheetrock on the interior and possibly over those windows. That way we do not have to remove them and they could always be uncovered in the future. I also called the company today on what might be involved in, I guess, ordering and installing interior fire coated shutters. So I'm looking into those options, but I do want the board to be aware that if you approve the stairway, that I need to, I guess, work with you on how to work with those windows. Hold on, why can't I hear you?
So in Roger McMillan, the stairwell you're proposing, how are you going to construct? What's that going to be constructed of?
So,
will that be available for people to use all winter long? And if so, how will you do that?
The stairway, because of it being out in the weather and not covered, John's put in that the treads and stringers will be pressure treated wood. We're going with a 2x2 square paintable PVC railing, again, to sort of give it the openness. Your question on the winter, it is meant for fire code. So it's going to take some daily cleaning and some work. Ideally, no one's out on that deck in the winter.
I see. Okay, no one's going to be.
But you do have a valid point as far as it is meant for fire code. So it'll just have to be a daily effort to keep that clean and workable, just in case there is something that goes wrong.
But you're not going to plan on using the deck during the winter?
No, not I would say all the time. No. Not to say people wouldn't be out there because it is covered now. I wasn't ready for that question, Roger. I don't know. It would be neat in the winter to have, some lights out there and people could have a cocktail out on that deck, weather permitting. I'm not saying that I can't say no. I can't say that no one would be out there. What I can do is I can also talk to John about putting some type of, weather stripping down on those stairs too, to help traction and things like that in the winter. If need be, we can just close those babies. I can't close it off because it's an exit. It's an egress.
But it's going to be used strictly. I mean, you're not planning on using this as your entry. It's just
no.
So people aren't using it to go up to the deck. They're still going through the restaurant to get up to the deck. This is strictly there as an emergency exit.
Correct.
More than anything else.
Ian, in the image we're looking at, The vertical lines that are on the stair landing, is that like a gate of sorts?
Oh, under the windows?
That's
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
She's asking about this piece
If
right
it-
here at the
yeah.
landing.
Is that like a baby gate kind of thing? Is that kind of?
John never provided a floor
Yeah,
plan.
yeah, there's no
but-
side. It might just be more of a the side paneling that would go out against Hoffman Lane. I honestly hadn't even noticed that. Because you're gonna come down the stairs onto a landing. And so I'm assuming that that's the side profile of how that railing would be, and then come down onto the street.
Yes, I don't believe they can actually have a gate there, Liz. So
Yeah,
I think it was just an error on the drawing bit, because this is going up against the building, so there's no reason to have vertical balusters
I see.
alongside the stair, along
So
the building. There
if
would just
I
be a
were coming
handrail.
down the stairs, I would get to that landing and I would be turning left toward the building, not right toward the parking
No,
lot.
you're turning right towards the
Oh.
parking lot.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
why I'm
you're-
saying
you're-
this
you're
is
coming
not,
out.
just ignore the verticals over the landing.
Okay.
They don't exist. There won't be a gate, and it was just kind of, I think, an error, because at one point they were looking at taking the stair and pulling it all the way to the opposite end and turning it and entering,
So it
doing
is
what you
flush
said.
against the building on the north side then of the stairs?
Yes.
It's flush. Okay. You said it's pressure treated with a paintable vinyl for the railings. So the pressure treated stringers and treads are not going to be painted? Is that the plan, or will it be a painted pressure treated?
It can honestly match the white of the deck, or it can match the blue of the building. I am open to making it look like the building, or making it fit in.
Okay. Yeah,
It might.
I think paint would make it look a little more cohesive, but I wanted to clarify that since you said it was pressure treated, to make sure it could be painted. Okay. Who else has questions for Ian?
I have one, and that is the stair treads. Are they pressure treated stair treads so that they're an inch thick as opposed to inch and a half? It's one board that goes the whole stair, and it's got a rounded, full-nosed front.
I'm sorry, I'd have to ask John on that. I would assume they're going to be more an inch and a half, give them a little bit more stability. I think they'll be thicker rather than thin.
How many carriers are there? There's the one that you see. There's presumably a ledger against the wall.
Yeah,
Is there one in the middle? And how wide is the stairwell?
it's, I think, a 36 inch.
Yeah, it looks like that from the drawing. So
Only because we're trying, it'll fit the code for the stairway coming up, because we're trying to not to cover a lot of the entrance area into the front door. So if I can that's why sort of keeping it along the building allows for a nice entryway into the property and doesn't create too much of an overhang for people to have to either duck under or go around.
well, I would much prefer personally to see it in inch thick stair tread as opposed to dimension lumber inch and a half. It makes for a much nicer stair generally. Also, you might think of penetrating it so water can be relieved from it.
Okay. I will ask all of, I guess, of John and the code and move forward with that for sure. I've written it all down.
Thanks. I think you'll like the result.
This has been a learning project, but I think it's going to end up looking very nice when it's done. So what about the windows?
And I was muted when I started to say this. I was thanking you for reading my mind as I was thinking. I wondered if there was anything with shutters they could do on the inside. I am not sure signage is within our purview, but Jane, would questions about signage and when it covering the windows, would they ask about HPARB's opinion when it went before zoning?
Well, it's going to the planning board next week.
Okay,
I
planning, I'm
mean,
sorry.
the signage, I mean, they're proposing a 4x4 wall sign somewhere here.
Yeah, it used to
The
be right.
the existing sign used to be right here
Mhm.
below
So
the
we're-
window.
And what is the opening that's bigger than 4x4, or it's wider
Correct.
and not as
I mean,
high?
Bigger
Do you
than
know, Ian, do you know how big the two windows are?
I'm estimating the fact those panels are each 6 inches, so probably 24 wide and about 18 the other way.
I think it's bigger than that. My guess is those lights are 7x9s. So you're looking at 28 times 2, which is 56, plus 2 sets of stiles on either side. It's closer to, yeah, you're pushing 6 feet
Yeah.
width-wise.
And you're thinking what, like about 3.5 feet tall, something like that, Jesse?
Well, if they're 9s, yeah, probably a little bit less than 3.5, but not a whole lot. Yeah.
Right. So technically, Ian's proposing a 4x4 in that location. He would be allowed to go up to 40 square feet, or not. Yes, so let's say 40 square feet. So technically, he could do like a something that would cover the whole window. I just threw on the thing based on what he was going before the board, but it could be larger than that and then cover the whole thing in
Because we could, yeah, I mean,
6x4 would cover it for sure. Probably
Yeah,
a little bit less than that.
because we could even make the sign fit the glass spacing and then put a nice decorative wood framing or something around it to jazz it up or make it look a little bit more appealing.
Yep.
Right. I was just doing that because that was going to be roughly what size it was. Kind of guessing, just throwing it on based on, the proposal that's going to the planning board. But yes, they could even just take that and just make the overall panel the full width of the windows and still just have the sign for, graphic.
Yeah.
The size that
If that's acceptable for all the codes, that would be my ideal preference.
Right. Otherwise, it was basically remove the window and then side over it and then just put the sign where the sign fit, wherever they want. But, we were looking at options where they might not necessarily need to remove the window if they could cover it with some kind of fire rating system and then just deal with applying the sign to the side of it or over the front of it.
The sign is currently made. You already own that sign?
No, sir. No, only because I am in with the planning board for approval of the signs, and I have 3 quotes out now. But no, until we got further into this project and further into the restaurant, no, I haven't purchased them yet.
You might give yourself a little more letter spacing with the bumpos word and make the sign, it would be easier to read, but it would also give you more width to the sign, which might in the end come to completely cover the windows, which is what you'd like to do, right?
Yes, yeah, I can work with them on spacing and how they create it. Yeah, we've talked with Prolific out in Evanston, and there's a company in the Mohawk Valley that does it too.
You see all the letter spacing in the natty word?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you might try and duplicate that in the second word rather than making the 2 words line up with each other. Also, since it was established yesterday, is that an important part of your sign?
Oh, the 2021?
Yeah.
It's built into the logo at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, it'd It'd space it out better if that weren't there.
Okay. We'll see how it comes together.
I'll be interested.
On the street, you might not want to say you're just opening and give it a little more cred, like
Right.
take that 2021 out of there.
We'll be open week after next.
Hey, James Fenimore Cooper wrote about this place.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any more signs or suggestions or questions for Ian?
There was a couple other things that he's trying to do also.
Yeah. In terms of the
The
window
stairs.
and the stairs, I realize that there's more.
Yeah, so we have realized that the two interior French doors, so to the left of that old ice chest there, not really down in the corner, but those two right there have taken on significant water from the deck over the last couple of years to where it actually runs inside now. So we're looking to replace those two French doors with the same exact French doors that are there now. The grids are built in. Bruce Hall has measured them all up. We'll basically put the same trim back. We'll match the color back up, and just make it so they shut again. The one that's covered doesn't even close anymore. It's too warped and too bent.
And do you think the new roof on the deck is going to help prevent the moisture problems that have caused those problems?
Oh, tremendously, yeah. Which is sort of, another reason why we went for that, because the snow and the rain basically leaked down that wall, and now they've made their way into all the moldings and into the doors and so on. So we're holding off on putting actually those doors in until we can get the roof on. That way we don't further ruin the structure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's basically a replacement in kind. Are we gonna make Ian jump through hoops about grids between the glass, or given the fact that it's a replacement in kind, is everybody comfortable with that?
I'm good with replacement in kind.
I don't have a problem.
I would agree. I
Okay.
agree.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. And on to the hood.
All right. So next up. So the kitchen has not changed in, I guess, all of its years for the most part. That is the existing hood vent that comes up from the original kitchen. We're looking to add 5 feet of kitchen hood into that new area where we took the stairway out, just to increase some prep and some kitchen size. We've met with ABM. I've talked with Tony. I've talked with John. For the most part, that second hood vent would come through the roof behind the existing one to where you really won't even see it. I believe it'll look a lot like the one that's there now, but you shouldn't see it from the road, and you shouldn't see it from the stagecoach view either, just where it sits on the building.
Any questions?
Is there any way we could see a sketch or rendering of what that would look like? I'm not good with words.
I could. Let's see.
Doesn't even,
Yeah.
from this view, it doesn't even project above the roof line.
Yeah, it'll pop out more toward that fireplace. I can get with Bernie from ABM Fire and see if they have, I guess, a picture of what that vent may look like. But for the most part, they're all the round or the cylindrical type hoods.
So basically, you were saying it's the exact same thing as this, only behind it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
behind
And
it.
like I
Yeah.
said, this height does not even meet the top of the ridge. So the only place you're gonna see it is pretty much this view right here.
And they'd be separate, right?
Yeah, two separate because it's two separate ventilation systems.
Mhm.
You have a concern, Pat, or you just wanted to get a better sense of size and proportion?
Well, it's not a concern unless it turns out to be a concern, if you get my drift. In other words, since I can't see it, I can't tell how wonderful it could be or how awful, just because it's not there. So I mean, I like to see things first.
No, I understand. So you're looking for sort of how high or the height
No,
of that coming out of the roof?
It sounds like it's going to be the same height, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and can you in effect make it identical to that one?
I can't answer that question as far as identical, just because that one was probably put in back in the 80s somewhere, and
Mhm.
designs may have changed a little bit since.
Well, I mean, I think it would be aesthetically better if it were a twin as opposed to two singles. Now, it may not even matter, but I'm just saying that would be my choice if I were the designer.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I guess the questions that I've worked out with ABM and my roofer McCoy was more or less, pitches of the roof and the fact that
Sure.
They want to do both of them at the same time. That way we can come through the roof and seal the roof at the same time.
Both of which? Both the existing one and the new one?
Well, the roof that we're putting on.
Okay.
So when that new hood goes up through the roof, we want to be able to seal it
Okay,
properly
gotcha.
with the new one.
Right. Well, it's not that big a problem for me, so, I mean, I'd certainly go with what everybody else felt.
Ian, can you speak with ABM and ask for specs and information so Jane has it on file?
Yes.
Thank you. Pat, I understand what you're saying. I'm inclined to, given the kind of tight corner there and the fact that it is reversible and Ian may end up replacing this other exhaust fan sooner or later, then he could work on the twinning if that's the case. That we just ask that it be as cohesive as possible at this point. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns for Ian?
No.
Okay, so we have, we need a motion that addresses the stairs as submitted and the replacement of the French doors in kind and the ventilation fan with information to be submitted to the zoning enforcement officer for the files.
In the
correct?
window.
Oh, in the window. Thank you. And that's more of a discussion because zoning or planning has to weigh in.
Okay.
Well,
Jane?
planning is only weighing in on the actual sign design
Okay.
kind of thing. So
Not on the
it's
placement.
not specifically on the placement. I mean,
Okay.
as long as the HPARB is comfortable with somehow either removing the windows and filling in the wall or covering over the wall with some type of fire rating, then we would work to say that, based on, if it's going to be a white panel, then yes, you want the sign to be basically fitting in on that white panel. If it's going to be, if you had no objections and he actually removed the wall or removed the windows and filled it in with siding, then the sign could basically be placed wherever. So it's kind of up to you guys as far as how you want him to handle the window situation.
I would be inclined to try to leave the building intact as much as possible and leave the window in place. Ian it will also hopefully save you a bit of work and money doing it that way. That would be my inclination, to try that, keep it simple solution first, if it's acceptable to your insurance people and your codes people. So anyway, who would like to make a motion addressing all of those things? The stairs, the window, the doors, and the vent?
Well, can I raise a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, I'm concerned about the construction of the stairs on the front of the building as a method of egress for fire escape. And it's unclear to me whether you have to construct that stairwell in fireproof materials. I mean, it doesn't seem to make too much sense to have it constructed of wood.
It's the stair itself isn't the issue. It's the issue with separating the fire on the interior of the building to the exterior.
Right,
So
but if you have,
the concern,
if that's a method of egress and it's constructed out of wood, does that make any sense?
there isn't any issue because it's outside.
Pardon me?
It's outside. So
Yeah,
the
but
stair can be wood egress on the
So
outside
Roger,
because we're trying to keep the fire within the building. So
the
I
point
mean-
would be there's no other way to get off the deck if those stairs don't exist. And if there were a fire in the building, which would probably start in the kitchen, you don't want to have patrons have to go back into the building to escape the deck.
I think he's just asking if they should be metal or something instead of
Mhm.
wood.
I mean, the Pioneer patios are wood, right? Trying to think of who else has them.
I mean, the external fire escapes on the Key Bank building, I mean, I'm not sure they're metal. Likewise, there are metal ones on the library building, and they're all exterior. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have to ask Tony.
I think what Roger's saying is making a lot of sense. On the other hand, there are an awful lot of fire escape kind of structures that are made out of wood currently. So it may be acceptable, if not right.
Yeah, I
Well,
get
I
what
hate
you're
to
saying
see-
too.
as long as it meets building code,
Right.
And
it's
Tony,
fine as far as, Tony wouldn't let them put in a wood stair if it wasn't approved. And like I
Yeah.
said, because it's an exterior stair, it's most likely is allowed. And at this point, I don't, as Liz said before, Pioneer patio was a brand new wood stair. So, and that's the only exiting from that upper deck. So it obviously meets building code. So the issue
Well,
is more.
yeah, I hate to see Ian construct the whole thing out of wood and then have someone come by and say, that's not right.
Well, he
Yeah.
wouldn't be allowed to construct it out of wood
Yeah,
if
that's
it
Tony.
isn't allowed. So it's
Okay.
never going to get to the point where it gets built without it meeting code. So
Well, and somebody who came by would have to have the law changed, the code changed.
Okay, all right, I'm just fine.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, Roger.
Yeah, no, yep. Thank you, Roger.
okay. I get it. It's confusing and it's not a traditional fire escape, but it is for egress. So it makes it a little complicated. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion?
Okay, I will give it a shot. I may need some help when we address the windows. Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding work to be done at 8 Hoffman Lane. No public hearing was required. Requirements of secret have been met. The structure is
Listed.
listed. The proposed work meets the criteria. Well, proposed work includes addition of stairs, egress stairs on the front of the building, addition of a new vent on the roof, replacement in kind of doors on the first floor, and covering of the second floor windows above the stairway. To be contingent on providing information on the vent hood to be installed, including dimensions and materials. Stairs to be constructed with 1-inch treads. The new doors more or less identical to existing doors, and then details on the covering of the window to come back as a field change.
Good.
The proposed work meets the criteria under section 326E, 2C, 3C, and 5. Now therefore be it resolved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second, but how about 2B?
Sure, we could go with 2B as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any discussion? All in favor, Liz votes yay.
Pat votes yes.
Roger, yeah, Roger, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ian.
All right, thank you.
Get the drawing, the specs on that hood to Jane, okay?
Yes.
And Jane, if there's any kind of real deviation, you'll let us know, correct?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. All right, have a good night.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, we're on item number 8 on the regular agenda, 184 Main Street, Tom Rusk.
Yep. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Tom. Tell us about your project.
Sure. So what we're looking to do is extend our second floor bathroom out over the 1970s addition that consists of a basement level garage and a first floor level family room. I believe it's approximately a 65 square foot expansion. And the goal of this is to be able to have additional space in that bathroom to relocate the toilet away from the wall, to be able to add an additional vanity, pedestal sink, I should say, add an antique sideboard to provide some storage within the bathroom, and to be able to move the toilet and add a sink into a water closet room. So the goal is simply to move the existing north wall out, and it's approximately the same width as the existing bathroom. And it would be a hip roof, matching materials.
And structurally, you're able to bite into that roof on the addition without a problem?
Correct. I believe it'll be a laminated beam that extends across. On the picture that you have up right now, the east wall actually will be directly above the exterior wall that you see the patio doors built into. So that'll be directly over the framed wall.
So we lose one window there and
Right.
the
So that
window, go ahead.
Right. That existing second floor window actually will just move directly out. So it'll stay in the exact same location. It'll just move north by the depth of the expansion.
Okay. Are you going to try to preserve the ornamental feature above the window? Is that going to?
Yeah, the goal is to preserve the pediment and actually to preserve the original window.
Right.
And the storm windows that we did a few years ago as well.
And then you'll have windows on the west side also?
Correct. And those would just be standard Marvin windows. Because of the way that the roof structure is, we couldn't add windows that would match the existing dimension on the second floor. So we're just going, we have on the first floor, the Cadwaladers added at least 10 years ago. Oops, sorry about that. They added windows on the north side, either side of the fireplace. And so we'll just go with the same style of Marvin, no divisions in the lights, just full dimension wood windows on the inside.
And again, it's not our job to design. I just wondered if you had thought about mimicking that attic window at all with the divided lights.
That was my question as well.
That
one.
Right.
The little dormer. I think you guys added that dormer, right?
Yes, that actually, so construction hasn't begun on that. And that window actually is an antique stained glass window that we found that actually matches
okay.
the existing.
Or then the one that's to the right of that too, with the very similar treatment on the third floor.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. That's also an original stained glass window.
It can be replicated. It's not that difficult to do.
Or
truly, it's not. It's not that difficult.
I don't think you even need to worry about the stained glass. It would seem to me that the shape of the dormer transferred to that addition would do an awful lot for it.
Yes, I agree. I think it would be very attractive. It's slightly different in proportion. It's a little bit, it's the same, about the same width, but it's the one in the dormer is a little bit deeper than the ones that are in the current drawing.
The window dimensions.
Yeah, they're a little bit shorter. They're
Right.
squashed compared to it, but it would look nice to have that theme carried out in the back.
Hey, Tom, in terms of what's going on inside, would the deeper or longer window work, or does that create a problem inside?
Yeah, the attic windows are actually not that large of a difference. The shape is really the difference. There would be a vanity sink mounted underneath there, so that amount of additional window space wouldn't really change what we could do on the interior.
Yeah, it would give you a little more light too.
Mm-hmm.
Light's always good.
Exactly.
Especially in the bathroom.
If you decide, I would really encourage you to try to mimic that a little bit. And if you do decide that, please just come back with a field change drawing. But I think it would make a lot of sense. It would certainly complement the earlier portion of the house.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, would you be looking for divided light windows, or you would be finding the type of window that's in this drawing acceptable?
Is that a casement window? Is that what you're using?
Yes.
Might be awning.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what the product number is specifically on that.
Well, what are you trying to do with it? Are you ventilating as well as bringing in light?
Right. It'd be a good option to be able to ventilate. Yeah. Just adding the windows. What we really don't want to do is reconstruct original wood windows and go to the cost of adding Monterey windows, storm windows on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really end up with single pane wood windows. It was a substantial cost to keep the original windows, and we really don't want to continue to add to those.
This is a facade that faces a street. Am I correct?
Yes. That is.
It faces Pine Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned that the size of the dormer would be pretty small compared to the square footage of the space of that new roof. I mean, the other dormer have a lot more square footage on that roof where they are. And I think that the amount of gain you would get would be minimal from an expense substantial. I think
Well, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Roger.
okay, well, I think that the pitch of the roof on the new addition is relatively small compared to the pitch and the square footage of the roof where the next dormer is, which is going towards Main Street. So I think it'd be a long run for a short leap.
Well, wait a minute. Are you thinking that we're talking about putting a window in the roof face facing north? No.
No, facing west.
Yeah, well, these windows are virtually the same size as the one that's in the dormer.
I think, Roger, are you thinking we're suggesting another dormer there?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No,
We're
I
just
don't
talking
think
about the
nobody's
windows.
just taking the rectangle of the dormer and applying it to the rectangle of the two windows that are listed.
Oh, okay, I
The
misunderstood. Okay,
The 20,
good.
the 2840. At least
Okay, I
that's what I'm talking.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that would be a very nice addition. It would look good to
It
do
would
it.
soften it.
Yeah, there you go. Good way of putting it.
Yeah. So we discourage grids between glass, but to get grids, dimensional grids on the outside potentially would be
So
the thing
those-
to do as opposed to a true divided light.
So those would be the only clear glass divided lights we would have. The only ones that we do have are actually wood storm windows. We kept two of them on one of the large bay in our dining room. We kept two of the wooden storm windows that are divided light. But actual windows, the only divided light windows that we have are full stained glass.
Okay. So the drawings then, John, is misrepresenting things in the drawings.
So those
all
windows,
this- yeah.
right, so that's actually a Red Point CAD file. And you're correct, those are not the actual windows.
Okay.
They're full glass.
And so the dormer that hasn't been built just
Is
to the is going to be a stained glass, and then the dormer to the right of that, on the third floor is stained glass. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Correct. The window that has the two flowers on either side is original stained glass. The sides are stained. The middle is a clear panel.
Right.
The small dormer that's yet to be built, that is full stained glass, in keeping with the other square windows that we have on our east over the.
And Pat and Jesse, you both have much better eyes than I do. I do think that softening them in some way, I see what you're saying, and I was getting a little confused looking at the drawing. It would, and I understand why you're choosing the product you're choosing. But even thinking about the divisions in the existing third floor attic window, I don't know. I'm not sure if we're introducing too many things now that we're looking at this picture and knowing that those are just 1/1s. It makes more sense, but are they 2/2s? No, they're 1/1s.
Well,
Okay.
I think they look, because they're single light and because their orientation is opposite to everything else in the building, except for the ones that are in the attic spaces, which are horizontally oriented. I think that they would look less like they would look less like they'd been sort of popped in there in the 1980s. If they had the surround, if they had the Muntin design that's in that attic,
Okay.
in that
Would-
attic window.
Would it be acceptable to have that between the panes of glass?
I think you'd probably be fine with that, honestly. It's a lot less expensive. It would be a lot easier to maintain. You'd be, you know, it's far enough, it faces the street, but it's up above something you're just trying to soften. What's a
Well,
bit of a carbuncle already on that building and that back garage, it's a clunker. So you're just trying to improve its appearance a little bit. I realize it's useful, but when it was put on, it lacks some sympathy with the building it was put onto, but this would just improve, diminish that lack of sympathy a little, I think.
Right. I would say that's true original.
yeah, well, Liz, can I make a,
Sure, Roger.
yeah, well, I get concerned that we're not supposed to be designing a project. We're not architects. And I think that talking about softening things and everything, our job is to adhere to what's going with the law of the Cooperstown and whether the project meets the criteria of the law, not trying to redesign a project I just think we're maybe overstepping our bounds. So that caution is,
I hear what you're saying.
I mean, we're not trying to redesign a project, and that's not our job. I don't think, but maybe I'm being too provincial. But
No, you're not being too provincial because there is a reminder that we're not supposed to do a redesign. I think what we're ideally asking Tom to do is consider the treatment of the windows and maybe come in for a field change. And I think that would be the appropriate thing to do. In addition to the drawing, not, kind of being a little hard to kind of imagine because of the way the other windows are presented on the drawing. It also does not present the windows on that little vestibule underneath the addition or the windows on the rear portion of the house. So, in the image, Jane, if you want to follow the chimney down and you have this little vestibule, I'm pointing at my screen. It's not that window, and then the windows to the left of it aren't presented in the drawing. So I'm just trying to visualize how these windows are going to look on this addition when the addition isn't clearly represented in the drawing, and the windows and the other windows on the house in the drawing aren't all represented accurately. So I
Right, he doesn't have any of this
yeah,
shown.
and
he's
so,
actually showing
Right.
2 windows here and there's only 1 window.
right, and so I would be inclined to encourage you to think about how to kind of make the windows a little more cohesive with
Right. We're going to be able,
house.
so I'm going to go back to my point that if you look at the roof structure on the picture that you have up, if you follow the brown wooden trim that is at the sill of that 2nd-story window, you'll see that it dies into that back roof. And so the addition we're proposing, if you see where the chimney is coming out of the 3rd floor, that wall is actually going to be right in line with the peak of that roof. So we're not going to be able to add windows that are anywhere near the size of the windows that are currently on that facade.
Oh, no,
No matter-
I'm not suggesting that. Yeah, no, that wasn't what I was suggesting. Just trying to think about how to soften 2 modern casement windows.
Right. Well, we would do similar trim that's around our existing windows. So the wide wood trim would be surrounding them.
Yeah.
Could you tie the 2 windows together with the trim?
Yes.
So that
absolutely.
essentially you had a slightly narrower center panel, not mullion, and just you know, any kind of trim board that would in effect emphasize the horizontality of it, and at the same time relate it to that dormer that you're going to put in the roof.
Certainly, that we can do.
So, yeah, I think just something to make it more integral would be good. So if whether you have John do it or you can just get us when you have a new drawing of what you're planning to do, just get us the information for a field change. That would be good, Tom.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion if everybody's done with questions? Not assuming everybody is, but if everybody is.
Okay, I will plunge in here. Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding an addition at 184 Main Street. No public hearing required, requirements of secret have been met. The structure is listed. The proposed work meets the criteria under section 326E. To A, to B, 3A, 3B, 3C. And suggesting that a field change may be required as window design changes in the future. Now therefore be it resolved.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have a second?
Pat seconds.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
Pat, yes.
Mark, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Roger, yes.
Thank you very much, Tom, for your time. Did we lose him already? Okay. All right. Move on to item number 9 on the.
We're going to hold off on 37 because they are not here. So
Okay.
let's move to 46 Lake.
Okay.
What was that?
We're going to go to item number 10 on the regular agenda, 46 Lake Street.
I've asked Nick to join, but I don't see him yet. There he is.
Hey guys.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hey, shush, shush. All right, hold on. Let me turn my volume up for a second. Okay. All right. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. All right.
Oh.
Oh dear. Okay.
So sorry about that. That's the perils of Zoom calls from home.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, I am presenting a few changes to the Grandner residence at 46 Lake. And I'm actually just going to pull up the application on my screen so I just have it for reference. There are a few different things we would be asking for. So I guess, I suppose I could just sort of run through them in order. So the first project we would be doing is replacing both Palladio windows on the rear of the house, which is the lake side. Those are not original to the house. I included a little thing about the history of the house because it's kind of interesting. It's one of those Cooperstown homes that has gone through a million changes since its construction. And so you can sort of see it started out as a relatively modest home, and it kept growing. As the town was doing better, as the owners were doing better, they kept adding addition after addition. And, in a sense, for a house like this, that actually is its significance to a point, because even though it's not necessarily, I suppose, a cohesive design style, each part tells a different story. So anyways, the first project we would be doing would be replacing 2 windows on the back of the house. So the window on the left here, that entire dormer is an addition from, I believe, the 90s or early 2000s. And the Palladian window on the right was replaced. It was originally just a single double hung. It was replaced probably around the same time, maybe a few years later. And so the homeowner is interested in basically, she feels that, and I sort of agree with her, these Palladian windows are a bit squished in these dormers scale wise. So we're sort of seeking a return to something closer to what would have been there before, a little simpler. So we would be keeping the size of the center window in both cases, but replacing them with single double hung and with shutters. And so there is a picture after this showing sort of a quick mock-up to get a sense of what that would look like. And these windows would be the Marvin, I believe we expect the Elevate series, would have the simulated divided light with spacers, wood interiors, clad exteriors. The shutters would be wood made to match the existing shutters, just in a smaller size.
So you're going with the divided light because...
Yeah, so it actually is, I have a comment in another photo. This may be misleading. We are currently repairing and restoring the original windows in the home. So all of the windows on the home are actually 6/6s. You don't see that here because the sashes themselves are being repaired, and those are just the storms. So we would be matching the grid pattern of the existing house.
Don't really see anything.
I'm really surprised that that house had 6/6s in the Italianate house.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking at one of the pictures you provided, photo number 3, and it looks like there were 4/4s actually.
Yep, no, that's the funny thing. So originally the house in the front had 2/2, and then in the 1960s it went through a huge remodel, and they were trying to they got rid of all the Victorian detailing, all the Victorian windows, and they changed everything to sort of fit under a vague colonial revival umbrella. So the current 6/6 windows that are everywhere actually date to the 60s. The original house did have 2/2s.
Yep, that's what I would have expected.
Yep, absolutely.
But you're going with restoration to 6/6, is that what you're saying, or?
And so the plan for the windows on the main house, which are all wood windows from the 60s, we are restoring those and leaving those. So because of that, the new windows, we would match those instead of the original 2/2s. And actually, in this case, this entire addition was added, we believe this addition was added at some point after the 1913 edition, but before the 1960s one. So it's basically every part of the house you look at comes from a different era. And and then a majority of the existing house, both interior and exterior, all dates to the 1960s. Actually, we're also doing renovation work inside, and it's actually amazing. There's not much old framing in there at all. A majority of the house was really completely transformed in the 60s.
And so these are really the only windows that are going to be replaced then. The rest are just being restored.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Except for these two. I'm sorry.
What's going on up there?
Okay. That was a trick question.
It's funny, we've got a lot of projects. I can go to, this is sort of project 2. There are these sort of plastic sliding windows in the 3rd floor. These are the sides of the previous addition we were looking at. We would originally, they were also double hung. So one of the things that's a little interesting and helpful is we have these drawings from the 1960s that documented the existing conditions before they tore everything out. So you can see here actually on the middle, it actually did have the 6/6s on that part, but then the front had the 2/2s. You can see there on the left that it was originally a 6/6 double hung, that where the current slider is. And so we would be proposing, the current sliders are a little bit shorter than that. We would be proposing to add 6 inches to them, dropping them, basically the sill would drop 6 inches. And we would put in the same Marvin line of double hungs, just to get rid of the sliders, which are a bit random.
You're gonna have a little trouble with that later chimney that got applied on the outside. It's gonna have trouble fitting in there. It works on the side that didn't get the chimney.
Yeah, it's tight. Well, we keep the same width. We'd keep the same width, but we just drop it. We sort of, you could almost see there's a little dashed red outline to sort of say that we'd be dropping the bottom of the window. And those would not have shutters, basically for this reason, because the chimney's right there.
Yeah. Everybody thought they wanted a fireplace.
I know. It's
60s.
And then, so I guess I might as well run through some of the projects while we're doing it. So project 3 is related to the front of the house. So this is one where this is the current front of the house. Again, a lot of this all dates to the 60s when the 2/2 windows were replaced. Everything was sort of tried to become colonial revival. Sorry, the puppy. So the homeowner has expressed, guys, shush, shush. The homeowner, I'm sorry. Hold on, we've got 2 growling puppies here. 2 jealous brothers. Oh. So the homeowner would like to return the home to its appearance in 1913, before the 1960s renovations, for the most part. And so what that would entail is the original dormer windows were more of a Second Empire style, more Victorian detailing. They would like that back. And so they would also like, there were corbels going around the house. They would like to return those. And so this is kind of, it's a funny house because it's still going to be a mishmash of styles, but that's what it has been. And so we're sort of seeking a return to its mishmash before they tried to change everything in the 60s. Now, one thing I will say, as we had pointed out, the original windows were 2/2, where now they're all 6/6. Because the plan is to keep all the 6/6 windows, our current thought is to leave the existing 6/6 sashes in those dormer windows and basically rebuild everything around them. Technically, that's not, the original windows were 2/2 and they were arched. So we would have to sort of add a flat arched panel on top of these sashes to mimic the original look. And if you go to the that last page, that would be what we would be mimicking. Basically, we'd do that, except we would have the 6/6 and we'd have to do a flat panel on top to fill in that space.
So you'd literally have a piece of wood filler there, is that?
You see that a lot.
It'd be a cover.
Yep, that's the current plan at least. And then there was also a sort of 4th project, sort of unrelated to all this stuff. We have a field change request related to a fence around some mechanical equipment by the garage. It was originally proposed one way. We're asking to increase the height and change the layout slightly. So since this was initially approved, we ended up needing, in consulting with our HVAC guy, this is basically the only spot we can put our outdoor condensers, which are fairly tall. So the thought is there's an existing 5-foot fence right behind this garage, which is not shown actually. And we would be increasing this to match that height, 5 feet. And the goal again would be to screen off the mechanical equipment. And there actually is one thing with this that we may actually have to come back for another field change. In talking with the homeowner right before this meeting, she actually expressed a slight alteration to this layout, which I could share on my screen with you, or we could come back. I'm not sure how screen sharing would work.
If you want to try it, go ahead.
All right,
I don't know if you can. Jane,
Michael,
can you give him
Michael, can
permission
you
to
give him
share?
permission?
Oh,
Michael
I
can.
can-
probably.
Michael's in control.
I am. What are you gonna pay me? Who can say all participants?
It'll cost you.
All right, try that. See
All
if
right,
that works. Is that working?
Let's give this a go. Share screen. All right, so it's my screen, right? No, I don't want to share that one. I want to share this one. Okay, let's try this. Can you see this revised drawing?
Mm-hmm.
So basically consulting with the homeowner, she wanted to keep it more condensed and keep the fence smaller so it's less visible. So the one thing, in order to do that, we would have to remove the door on the back of the garage, which the garage was added in the 50s. And I could be wrong on this. I don't believe it's contributing.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
Yeah, but yeah, we would be removing that door and basically just trying to keep this stuff as in a small footprint as possible. So
And
neighbors or anyone doesn't see it, don't see it.
Not necessary for code or anything to have that door there.
Nope, not necessary for code. There's actually another man door on the other side of it.
I thought so, trying to remember the last presentation about the garage. Okay, is that helpful for everybody to see that? And Nick, you can submit that to Jane if that's the one we
Absolutely
approve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we back up to the discussion of the dormer windows on the third floor and changing to the 1913 window design? Because my concern or question related to that is it just the windows that are changing? Or will the roof and the trim above and below the windows change? Because you're talking about that window design that's 1913, but the mansard roof wasn't shingled, and you have more trim, soffit fascia, boards, etc., running through there. Correct? That original is not in place anymore, is it?
No, it's not. And so basically what we would be doing, the dormers themselves, besides the original sash, which the main reason we're keeping those is because of all the other windows are 6/6. So we figured we should just match them. We would be rebuilding the entire surround though. It would go from the pediment to the arched hood. We'd add all the Victorian detailing. And then as far as the trim around the house, the fascia board running around the house, we would also restore that to its 1913 appearance. And so it actually had the fascia board originally, and so it was kind of weird. In 1913, that's when they added the big pediment, the big portico on the front.
Right.
So they actually kind of made it colonial revival, but then they threw a bunch of Italianate brackets everywhere. And so it's a little weird, but that's what we would be doing, is matching that part of its history.
And the roof will remain shingled, or will that?
Yes, the current plan is for the roof to remain shingled.
That third floor.
That's not in the scope to replace
Okay.
at this point. That's a weird one.
Yeah, I that's kind of what concerns me, because I think that could.
Well,
it's definitely challenging with houses like this that have so many layers of history, and it's sort of, even in terms of what's original, it's like,
Yeah, and once you pick a period,
right.
If you're gonna go back to it. Jane, can you bring that picture
Sure.
or the blueprint up again?
When do you want, how
Keep
far
going.
back do you want to go?
The 1913 window drawing picture.
Oh, this way. That one?
Yeah.
Well, that's not 1913.
No, I don't think that's from 1913.
Yeah, I
This
think
is-
it's earlier. That's your
This is an 18
Italianate.
this is an
Yeah.
1870 to 1880 remodel.
So funny. Yep. No, I agree. 100%. Actually, it's funny. So in the little document that splurges about the history of the house,
Right.
the existing records we have specifically say the mansard roof was added in 1913. However, personally, I disagree. And I think
It's
that
highly unlikely.
no, I
Yeah.
100%. So I think even though the records show that, I agree. I think this is more like late 19th century, and then the colonial revival portico was added.
Yeah. Jane, can you go back through the photos? Can we
Sure.
scroll back? Can we start with the photo section and look at that? So right from the beginning.
Yep.
Okay, that was good. Yeah. And the brackets are already on the house in this photo. And I think this photo is probably about 1855 to 1860.
That's exactly the records we have say 1853.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I mean, and this is absolutely standard for the period, the 1.5 story, addition on the one side. This was the service L over here. And then when we go to, and the brackets are there because we're just beginning sort of Italianate stuff. And in this photo, it's really hard for me to tell. I think that you have 6/6s in this photo.
It looks that way.
Because, and that's the house on, the house at the corner of Elm and Eagle that Amy Stack owns. That house was built around 1860, and the entire house is 6/6s that look exactly like this. They're very tall and narrow. And I think that they were being made locally in a local sash shop. And so I think that you do have 6/6 in the earliest imagery you've got. So in a way, it's those 6/6s that you've got now that you're restoring. That makes perfect sense. So Jane, can we go to the next one? Okay. And then what happens is the whole building goes up a story on the right-hand side, and that mansard gets added maybe even as a third step, but it's certainly a second step. And when they did that, they replaced all of the windows across the whole front of the building and with 2/2s. So they update the facade. And let's go to that I think is 1870 to 1880.
Now,
Actually,
are those 2/2s or are they still 6/6s, Jesse?
I think
I'm not sure that they're, are they 4/4?
They're 2/2s.
In
Two
some of
over two.
you
Yeah,
can't
no, they're 2/2s.
actually, you know what's interesting about your point, Jesse, and I think you're spot on. In the existing condition drawings that we have, they show 2/2s on the front and 6/6s on the back.
Yep,
And
that's because they didn't replace the back ones. This is about for best foot forward. And so this picture is taken in 1913. But I think that you're looking at least 2 phases of restoration. You're looking at one phase that involves going up a full story on the wing. You may have a third change, which is the mansard, or the mansard may have been part of that. And then you have the crazy portico, the grand story portico on the front, which keeps the brackets. You will note, moved the brackets forward onto the new pediment. So yeah, it's a really strange building, but the 6/6s make a lot of sense because they're orally. I think replicating those mansard ones exactly as they are makes good sense. But if you could think about the 2/2s, because those really should have had the 2/2s. Everything else you could argue either way, but those mansard ones, they're historically speaking, they should have 2/2s. In Cooperstown, other places maybe not, but here, yes. So for what it's worth.
And my concern is with the roof itself, the roof treatment with the mansard, because those wood shingles that are currently on the house, I think they're kind of contradictory to the mansard roof.
Well, the mansard probably had slate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I
very
understand.
onerous to talk
I'm
about
just-
going back to putting slate on something. That's tricky. And the wood shingles have been there for a long enough period that it would
Okay.
be, there is reproduction slate, which would be quite accurate, but ouch. I mean, that's a big price tag.
Yeah, and Michael's used the product on her house, and the Rusks have used it. It's the rubberized,
Right.
and that's that has some appropriate period profiles. But that was what I was struggling with, is just kind of there's going to be a lot going on there,
Yeah.
and I agree that if you're making the effort to return the windows to that period, the 2/2s might help to blend it a little bit more. But the medley of periods is gonna be pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess my inclination would be to say is to try and where you have a change in period, sort of allow the change in period to be. But I was just noticing so you have the brackets across the front of the building, and that were on the side that are evenly spaced little brackets. But if you look at what they did when they put the mansard roof on and went up a story on the side, those are like straight up heavy duty late Italianate. They're paired brackets with big spaces between them. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So which brackets are you planning to put back on? See here, those are paired Italianate. They go perfectly with that mansard roof. Is that the kind of brackets that you're planning to put back on, Nick? Or are you planning to go with the ones that were on the sort of Italianate cottage from the 1850s?
So both. The answer is both. We would do this portion of the house. We would match this photo doing the paired. On the main one. Side note, look at that giant bay window. That's
that's gone. When are you putting that back?
Well, that window was probably even later. That's another phase, because those bay windows, if you pull the Sanborn maps, and I actually do have a set, I could pull it up and have a look. What you find with those big bay windows on buildings is they often are 1890 to 1915. They were an update that's not the same update as that mansard roof.
It's actually like I'm working on this house and trying to identify all the different additions and periods. It is dizzying.
Yeah.
It does. It's got a lot going on.
So in the photo number 4 that Nick provided us from 1913, and this photo too, that's there, but then wonder if they chopped it off in the 60s or something. Who knows?
Yeah, they probably took it. I mean, it was probably rotting, and it may well have had a iffy foundation, because the foundations start to fail. They were just slapped on. It was kind of like think of it, something that everybody has to have, an exterior deck in the 70s. It's that kind of, everybody wants one, and that's what that bay window is. Everybody wanted one.
So the funny thing, actually, in the previous photo, it's not even showing there. They're on the other side of the house, the opposite side. There, it actually doesn't even show. There was another gigantic bay window added that's still there today.
Okay.
So it's funny, that must have been added after 1913, after this one.
Maybe they moved that one around. No, like kidding.
Well, it'd be worth looking and seeing if it's a match.
Repurposed.
Well,
Anyhow, okay, Nick, we've digressed. Anyhow, what else did you want to add to this list of wishes at this point?
Oh, nothing really. I just wanted to mention that next month we are going to be applying for solar panels on the flat part of the roof. And I think we're all set to go. I just wanted to see, get your opinion, make sure we have everything we need for that. See if you have, I mean, I have a feeling that it's going to probably be actually the same company, Revolution Solar. Is that the right one with Stephen? No, Castleman, I'm sorry. Castleman is going to be doing the solar. So they will probably take the lead in the application. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything strange or extra that you needed from us in terms of sight lines or something like that?
Just so we know, so we can be thinking about it, you're doing it on the west facing side, the south?
Yep, it would be the whole roof, the whole flat part.
Okay.
And so
They'll be invisible from the street.
Right, because of
Yeah,
the
so
mansard.
essentially
Okay,
flush with the roof.
yep,
they will be, I mean, technically, I suppose if you're far, far out on the lake, you might, I haven't actually been there, you might be able to see them. But I just, yeah, the goal is for it to be invisible from the street.
okay. All right, thank you. We've gotten a lot of stuff thrown at us. Not that he didn't do it gently, but does anybody have any questions about any of the specific items that we haven't discussed with Nick? Okay. Nick, can we leave it up to you to discuss encourage the homeowner to consider doing 2/2s in those dormers?
No, absolutely. And in all honesty, I think she told me that she doesn't actually care whether it's 6 or 2/2. So, yes, I don't
I think if you're going to go through the trouble of bringing them back,
Yeah.
You owe it to the window to kind of not distract from everything else you're trying to do.
Yes, I guess the one thing is, which I suppose she may not, they would be, a substantial cost increase, of course, making the custom 2/2s. Not that she's necessarily opposed to it, but she may not realize that difference when she said she doesn't care. So I guess I would ask for it to, be approved or not as is, and then maybe depending on that outcome, we could consider the 2/2s.
Or come back for a field change.
Yeah, come back for a field change.
Yeah.
How about if we leave it at that?
I mean, yeah, we can't, I don't leave it so wide open that,
Yeah.
Rehabbing the 6/6s costs something as well. So the 2/2, I mean, it's more expensive, but you still have rehab costs for the 6/6.
But right now, Nick's planning on leaving the existing windows as is and only building around them. He's not incurring the cost of
you
new
don't have to
windows.
rehab those. Okay, never mind. I misunderstood.
Okay. So we're going to approve it with 2/2s, and if the homeowner chooses to come back for a field change, we'll talk to you again about it. How does that sound? We're going to.
So
I will ask whoever makes the motion to suggest 2/2s. Let me put it that way. So would somebody like to make a motion if we're done with the discussion?
yeah, why don't have Jesse make it?
I don't know I don't have
the cheat sheet.
The cheat sheet for how to do this. So
okay, so
it's going to be.
Well, then I'll make the motion and Jesse can
fill in the
correct me.
gaps. Okay, you guys can do it together.
Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings of facts: a public hearing was not necessary and the requirements of seeker have been met. Section 300-26, this is concerning an application of alterations at 46 Lake Street. And there are multiple divisions of the application. Proposed replacement of the third floor palladium windows in 2 locations with single Marvin elevate. And these are what, 2/2s? No, 6/6s. Double hung windows. B, proposed replacement of third floor vinyl siding windows, 2 locations with single Marvin elevate 6/6 double hung windows. C, proposed redesign of gable dormers to more accurately reflect the original curved dormers. And I'm just reading from the application. D, proposed addition of corbelling around perimeter eaves to more accurately reflect the original design. And I'm going to stop at that point. And therefore, sections dash, section dash 300-26E to A, B, and C 3, A, B, and C. And I think I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to conclude 5. Now therefore be it resolved.
Can I make a point of
Please,
clarification?
please
Last
do.
question. No,
Please.
Roger, you did a great job. Nick, we talked about the soffit and fascia. Is there actual work that is going to be done? Is material going to be added to return those? I'm not visualizing the house, and the pictures I have aren't clear enough.
We would be adding the core belling.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Okay, so if that is also clearly stated in the.
Yeah, in the motion, additional
that's
core
great.
belling around perimeter, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
So wait, so that's supposed to read an addition of, what was it supposed to say?
Proposed addition of core belling, CORBELLING, around
Okay.
perimeter eaves
Okay, around the perimeter of the eaves.
to more
Okay.
accurately reflect original design.
okay.
Is that on the south side?
They're different depending on what part of the building you're looking at.
Yeah, we would not be adding any on the back of the house because it never, well, the back addition that doesn't have, yeah, you're right. Depending on which angle you look at, it changes.
Yeah, so that, forget about that detail.
Well, so based on
historic photographs and
Yes,
1960s existing condition drawings.
reflect the original design. That's
as
right.
submitted in the files.
As submitted, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it would only, I think we would only be adding core belling on the south and the east sides of the house.
So the sides visible from the road, basically.
Absolutely.
And
It's on
then,
that later wing.
yeah, we're also requesting that the homeowner with the third floor windows choose a divided light 2/2 window, excuse me. Getting late after 2 hours of meetings, you kind of lose us, Nick. And with the understanding, Nick, that if there's a need for a field change, we can revisit it. Okay, does that sound good, everybody?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Did anybody second that motion? Thank you, Roger. Jesse, did you?
Yeah, I'll second.
Woohoo, thank you. Okay, any other discussion?
Do we need to approve a field change on the generator screening
Yes.
and door removal?
Do you want to do that as a separate?
Yes, yeah,
okay,
that was
okay.
my thought.
Yeah, so we'll do this, we'll finish this, and thank you for reminding us, Mark. So there was no discussion related to the motion at hand, so Liz votes yay.
Roger, yes.
Essie, yes.
Mark, yes. Pat's on mute.
Pat, you're on mute.
Still on mute.
Thumbs up, Pat. Okay, raise your thumb.
There we
you go. Woo-hoo. Now you can even talk to us. Okay. Did you vote yes, Pat?
Yes,
I did, yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. All right.
Thumbs up and
Thumbs
yes.
up.
And
Woohoo, all the signs. Okay, didn't want to assume it. All right, okay, now we can go on to the field change. Would somebody like to make a motion for the field change? Mark, you had that down. Would you like to do it again?
I move that we approve the field change regarding placement of generator and screening and removal of garage door as presented.
Thank you. Okay.
A second.
Anybody want a second?
Roger,
Thank you,
second.
Roger. Okay,
Yeah.
any discussion?
No.
Okay, I will remind Nick to please submit the drawing that you shared with us. So Jane has what we saw and approved on file. Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
Pat,
Roger,
yes.
yes.
Essie, yes.
Hey, we all good? All right.
Who seconded? Who seconded?
Roger.
Roger? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick, very much.
All right, have a nice evening.
You too. Okay. All right. Let's move on to George and for the project at 13 Fernley.
Hello.
George, would you like to tell us about your project?
Yes, it's well, it's not as nearly as interesting as Nick's job, but it's a 10 by.
Thank you.
Good thing though, maybe at the end of the night here.
At 7:16, we don't need interesting.
So yeah, it's just
quickly.
It's a tool shed in 13 Fernley Drive, a 10 by 12 tool shed.
14.
10 by 14. Sorry. And
the application, Jane.
It was originally going to be 10 by 16. He bumped it back down to 10 by 14.
Yeah. You bring up the application.
Yep.
Good.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, tell us about the materials.
the exterior is hemlock siding. There will be two doors on one end with black hardware. It's all wood on the exterior. It's all pretty much the one type of material. And then it'll be asphalt shingles, black asphalt, architectural shingles to match the house.
Okay. All right, the foundation, is it going to be on a pad? Is it going to be?
It's going to be on piers.
Okay.
On what?
Piers, cement
Yeah.
piers, or
Block?
pressure treated piers or cement piers?
Cement piers.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. The little vent in the top, wood, metal vent.
Wood vent.
It's pretty cut and dry here. Thank you for making this simple.
You're welcome.
Everybody good with the design as presented?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And would anybody like to make a motion?
Or whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings of fact concerning construction of a shed at 13 Fernley. No public hearing required. Requirements of secret have been met. Structure is not listed. Proposed work meets the criteria under 326E. 2C. 3B, 3C, 3D. Now therefore be it resolved.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have a second?
Roger, second.
Any discussion?
No.
Liz votes yay.
Mark,
Jesse,
yes.
Pat, yes.
Roger, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. All right, Jane, I'm,
Yeah, I guess I can present the last one. 'cause They
yeah,
never showed up. I'll pull up the application. So it's
Oh, this one.
they're proposing, or they'd like to put on a metal seamed roof. And they're saying that their goal is to basically make it look something similar to this one, which is down the street just a little ways. But
yeah. I have real
it's-
hesitations about metal on that house.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know, Jane, you may not have been in town when that other house was rehabbed, but it was,
oh, the one that I just showed the picture of?
yeah, it was
No.
in much more desperate shape, and the
Mhm.
dimensions and kind of massing of that house are different. I'm not thrilled about that other house, but that was short of falling over.
Mhm.
And I don't think I was on the board at that point. I don't know if you were, Roger, but this house, for many, many reasons, should not have a metal roof on it.
I agree.
And
Why do they want to do that?
I have no
Cheaper?
idea. She just, I can't believe it's actually cheaper than a new asphalt roof.
and this isn't a very big house. It does, with some of the different kind of shifts in the roof, it might be a little more expensive, but it shouldn't be an expensive house to roof. I at this point, if you could communicate to them that, I mean, I don't know if we need a formal motion and if somebody wants to make it, but I would really frown on if they came to us by showing up at the meeting,
Mhm.
a metal roof. So,
Okay, well, I'll tell them that as it stands. Now, I mean, it probably is, if you're not in favor of it at all, we should probably
have a vote.
have a motion and deny it. And
So
then
this-
I can basically tell them that they can come and appeal it or talk to you guys next month if they are still wanting to discuss it.
Somebody want to
I-
make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings regarding a new roof at 37 Walnut. The proposed work is denied because it does not meet the criteria under Section 326E. To be,
I don't even know. Do we have to give reasons?
I've
I
never
don't-
really,
don't
I've
know.
never really written one up.
Yeah, so I think we just denied the application for a metal roof. We
Yep,
need-
that's fine.
So you don't have to say that doesn't meet the criteria. You just want to say that you denied it for not, no.
We can say it's denied because it doesn't meet the criteria because the roof should be re-roofed with asphalt shingles with the original material. Is that fair enough?
Works for me.
Me. Yeah, that house is young enough that it may have been roofed in asphalt right from the beginning.
Yep.
So,
And if they're gonna do asphalt, they don't need to come back to you.
Correct. I think the law reads that if they're going to change the color of the asphalt, they have to come back to us. But
really?
I think that's the way the law reads.
Oh, I changed. my color.
I know, I did too before I knew that. So I'd say,
But you've never really have, you've never really gone into it that much, so.
right. But if they're keeping the asphalt shingles, we would like to know if the color is going to change from a traditional color.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep. I need a second.
Second,
thanks, Roger. Any discussion?
Nope.
Liz votes yay on the decision to vote nay.
And so does Jesse.
Mark agrees.
Roger, yes.
Yeah, this was,
What did Pat vote?
Pat votes yes.
Okay.
Thank
Thumbs
you.
up.
Thumbs up.
thumbs
to
up
the-
on our thumbs down, right?
That's right. Thumbs up on our thumbs down.
Okay. Now, Michael, another great job with the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review them?
They were wonderful.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we approve them.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion,
No,
corrections? Okay. Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
Pat,
Roger,
yes.
yes.
Jesse, yes.
Great. Thank you all for hanging in there tonight. I was really hoping we had picked up some momentum. We got through most of the first half of the agenda pretty quickly. I'm sorry we got slowed down, but thank you very much and enjoy all the nice weather.
Stay
Okay.
well,
Yes,
everybody.
you as well. Good night.
Thank you.
See you
Have a
next
safe
month.
trip,
Bye.
Pat. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Night, Jane.
Night.
Night, Liz.